Hello! I'm Noah Price, Christian Gamer. Not Christian Gamer. Well, I am Christian Gamer, but I'm Noah Price, also known from Christian Gamer.
And I'm Dylan Marshall, and I have nothing else going on.
No, that's not. We'll get to it. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about that. We're here with Redheads. It's been a while, hasn't it? It's been a year, and then a year from that. If you
2 years?
Okay, there was one episode, so it was 1 year since we stopped, and then we did a video. And it was about, well, we tried to do a video, and the video didn't work, so it was just an audio, and you'll hear early on, it's like, hey, we're doing video for the first time, maybe this is a normal thing. There wasn't video.
It wasn't normal.
Because it didn't work, and I didn't want to try to make it work. And then, a year later, we are here, because life gets busy.
I think it was 2 years.
2 years? I thought it was a year. I was looking at it, so...
If I was in dead week, it had to be 2 years, because last year...
Maybe from uploading. Maybe it's a... maybe uploading.
You're from uploading.
Maybe I didn't upload it the right timing.
I don't know.
But we're here. We live close to each other. So
yeah,
we have not a lot of excuses to not. We did both move. We moved away from college, since we've at least at the moment stopped attending college, because Dylan graduated. He did it. Last episode of you saw the latest one. Dylan was in the middle of dead week, and now he's a graduated boy.
I have a diploma.
He does have a diploma, and we'll talk about how he's using it. We'll talk about how he's making use of that money. Let me really quick fact check. It says a year ago, but that's from uploaded. So there is a possibility that I uploaded it way later, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Because if you look at the dates, we're fact checking here. The last one before that was 2 years. So I'm just saying,
I'm feeling skeptical.
Some people might be right.
I've been graduated for a year and a half.
A year and a half. Yeah, a year and a half is probably correct. That could be correct.
Yeah.
Because if
it's just quite hasn't hit that rollover for 2 years. That makes sense.
Because on YouTube, after it's done like a year, it'll then just uptick after another year. Yeah. So it could be like a year and what's it called?
Computer counting. That's what we came to talk about.
8 months. I don't know. But yeah, we're here. We're gonna be talking about stuff. We can be somewhat normal, as in the normal way, and we can start off with our scripture of the day. This time coming from Dylan Marshall.
Yeah, Noah let me pick.
I allowed it.
He allowed it. He allowed me to get my grubby phone in instead of the paper Bible.
Let me just flex real quick. I'm a better Christian. Okay, what verse is it? We're out of First Kings.
1 Kings 19, Old Testament. 1 Kings 19.
Ooh, I have highlights.
8
I'm
through 18.
8 through 18.
And it starts with "so he got up." So we'll just figure out who he is.
What adaptation are you in?
NIV.
I'm in NIV also. Okay,
perfect.
Kids at home, by kids I mean adults who might be older than us, we're reading through the NIV. Read along.
So he got up, ate and drank. Strengthened by that food, he traveled 40 days and 40 nights until he reached Horeb, the mountain of God. There he went into a cave and spent the night. And the word of the Lord came to him. "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He replied, "I have been very zealous for the Lord God Almighty. The Israelites have rejected your covenant, torn down your altars, and put your prophets to death with the sword. I am the only one left, and now they're trying to kill me too." The Lord said, "Go and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by." Then a great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart and shattered the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he put his cloak over his face and went out and stood at the mouth of the cave. Then a voice said to him, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He replied, "I have been very zealous for the Lord God Almighty. The Israelites have rejected your covenant, torn down your altars, and put your prophets to death with the sword. I am the only one left, and now they're trying to kill me too." The Lord said to him, "Go back the way you came, and go to the desert of Damascus. When you get there, anoint Hazael king over Aram. Also anoint Jehu son of Nimshi king over Israel, and anoint Elisha son of Sapchat from Abel Meholite. Yeah.
Sound pretty correct.
And succeed you as prophet. Jehu will put to death any who escape the sword of Hazael, and Elisha will put to death who escape the sword of Jehu. Yet I reserve 7,000 in Israel, all whose knees have not bowed down to Baal, and whose mouths have not kissed him." A lot of death.
A lot of death.
A lot of swords.
I know Elisha. I know him. I know that one. Yeah, when it's like he will put the prophet. Yeah, the prophet. Jeez. So I do have a part highlighted. I have the part with the great powerful winds toward, that whole section where it's like, all right, go up and hear from God, and he gets this crazy moment, just like shattering earthquakes, fires, and
like several natural disasters.
We
back to back.
Yeah, we don't hear Elijah ever being like, oh yeah, he was patient, because obviously that's not the focus. The focus isn't on Elijah and his response in this situation. It's all about God, and the point is that all this happened, and then what came after, and this is where we see God, and it's not within the big crazy stuff or the loud. It's quiet, gentle, but it's still at the same time dude, Elijah just saw that. That could be crazy. Oh my goodness.
The wind is blowing so hard it's breaking rocks. And then an earthquake came. The earthquake didn't break up the rocks.
No!
This is tearing wind. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's a wild section. So, Dylan, why did you pick this?
So Noah and I, we were looking for scripture. And this one came to my mind. Because kind of our topic today, we're talking about
loosely
feeling like we're the only one. We had both, as we said, left the Bible college. It was our time, for now. And now we're out on our own. We're living not life in a specific bubble or community of Christian.
We're say is like a Christian bubble. We're now out in the secular
in a community
world.
Yeah,
we're out in the secular world living, and it's like, oh, we're the only ones trying to live Christ-like,
or that's how it feels sometimes.
Yeah, that's how it feels. And so we're not going to be diving too deep into the subject. Maybe God will actually has worked it perfectly to work, which knowing him probably is. But since we're back, we're a little bit looser on scripture today, which I hope is fine. This is more gonna be us somewhat of a recap of what we've been up to, and kind of talking about this idea of struggling as our Christian living, and how has it been as a Christian in this transition period of, it's been about a year now where we've been away from our Christian bubble. We spent years at Boise Bible College learning and just diving into God's words, being around other people and learning about community, and just always digging and being so close in this Christian bubble. And now we've been out for about a year or so, and what has it been like? What has it been out in the secular world? And so we're gonna be talking about that. A lot of it is us catching back up with you. So again, we're gonna be a little bit light on the scripture today, but that's okay. Not every day has to be we're digging super deep into the Bible. We're transcribing it. We're looking into the Greek to figure out what's the meaning of this word. You don't always need to do that. There's a time and place for everything.
Yeah.
So, Dylan, how have you been? What have you been up to, buddy? You want me to go first? I can go first. I'll go first if you want. It's a small thing, but there's a few things. Where's my notepad? drop. Dylan brought a notebook. I had to scramble for a notepad to look cool, to jot down the few things I need to remember that I want to cover. But one of them is, hey, I found out some of my viewers of Breadins. There's a reason why we came back. It's not because we want to, because of my mom is nagging me to come back to read this or to do this.
Okay.
So about 3 weeks ago, we were talking and like my wife and I, we went on vacation to go see her family all the way in Alabama. That was a fun time, but right before, literally the day before, I got to meet up with my biological mom and her mother, so my grandma. And so a little lore recap about my life is I haven't gotten to see my mom a lot, my biological mom. I haven't been around her. I think it was like at least in my memory, about a total of 7 times or so that I actually got to be in person and talk and whatnot.
Yeah.
Growing up. And so, we haven't been in touch a lot. And for me, there's a lot of things where it's like you have your bucket list or your thing where it's like there's one thing you could do at some point that you want to do. And it's like, okay. In my mind, I'll say, all right, I know some people have done this where they've like, oh, I would like to hire somebody to search this person out so I can find them. So it's like, oh, in my mind, deep down, there is that kind of like, I would like to reconnect with my biological mom at some point. And so it's like, I've just been busy, haven't been doing it, and I know that's a thing I've given up to God. God took care of it, especially with this day and age of like internet, it's so much easier to reconnect and find people online. And so my biological mom was able to reach out to me, and so we were able to talk. And then turns out I forgot what she said. I think it's like about once a year or so she comes over here because she has her grandma or her mom here, my grandma here. So perfect. We can get together and reconnect. My phone. Someone's calling me. Maybe Josh Anderson. Scam likely.
Must have been Josh Anderson.
I never answer my phone. I don't do phone calls anymore. I'm such a new age kid. Ew, you're gonna call me? Ew.
Send me an email.
Ew. Yeah. Ew. But
comment on my YouTube.
Yeah, comment on my YouTube if you want to get a hold of me. Go on my Twitter or my X. We're not getting political. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about that.
Continue.
So we got together and we were talking, and like one of the ways that they saw my content was Breaded. Not the other 2 things I do. I also have 2 channels on YouTube of Hero Scrub and Christian Gamer. They hadn't seen that, but they saw Breaded somehow, and they liked it, so that was cool. So I made sure to let them know that Dylan and I have been in the works of figuring out a day so that we can jump back into this. And so, hello, Mom and Grandma.
Hey,
I'm
back.
on camera. Yeah, we're back. So that's my little small tidbit is I got to do that. That was cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool to get to reconnect. Obviously, I'm nervous.
Glad you saved that for the podcast, but also I'm like a little betrayed right now that I didn't know this before we started recording.
Good. There's several times I wanted to mention it, but I was like, no, I'll save it for the podcast. Save it for the podcast. But yeah, no. So that's really cool. Obviously, for me, I'm a shy boy, so it was a lot to kind of like open up and do it in the first place. But it's one of those things where it's like I'm shy, but I understand it's a good thing. And it's like, it's something I should do. And so I'm glad it happened. Glad we opened up, and we both made it a point that we're like, no, we're hoping this is an opportunity to start reconnecting. And so we've been texting here and there. And so it's been good. So that's a cool thing. Got some viewers on Breadins, which is very funny. Very funny. I think it's hilarious.
Because for a while it was like real hidden.
Yeah, it feels still very hidden.
And they found it.
So it's just, of all the things that you find that I do, Breadins of being a thing is just really funny to me. I like it. It's good stuff. Like there's a reason why we're also doing it. It's like, it's not actually because they're watching it. We're doing it because I liked it. I like doing this, and I missed it. So we've been trying to make this work.
Make it work.
But how you been, buddy?
I'm thinking about where we left off last.
You were in Dead Week.
I was in Dead Week, so I wasn't
married yet. A year ago,
yet?
allegedly 2 years ago.
So I wasn't married yet. Unless Allison was in Dead Week. Maybe it was Allison that was in Dead Week, and I was helping her out.
Because to catch back up, to get a little bit of understanding, I was re-listening to the podcast. I didn't finish it. So I don't know if you said you were married. But Dylan's married!
Yeah.
Huzzah!
The ring.
Well, okay, when were you married?
I got married August 7th
of
2020. I don't know how years work. 2? Because it's 2023, right? Yeah.
It is 2023.
Yeah, so we just had August 7th, 2023. So I got married in August 7th, 2022.
2022.
Noah was there.
I was there. I'm so glad I wasn't the best man. I'll say this. My least favorite thing is being the best man.
Oh.
It's very selfish of me to say this, but I hate it because I am lazy. Because I'm like, this is an important thing. I want to help. If I'm going to be the best,
throw him like 2 or 3 down the line.
Yeah, if I could be the best man, like I want to, I want to put in the work, but that means it takes work. And so, as Dylan knows from being my best man. So, okay, this was 2021 December 11th is when I posted this. So that means yeah, we didn't mention that you were married because you weren't.
I wasn't yet.
So we didn't mention that.
I was maybe on the way.
You
probably
I
was
said
dating,
that.
but
yeah, we were on the way. We're like, we know.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're married now.
So that's a big.
How long have you been married now? Has it
a year and? It was a year in August 7th, so August, September, October, so a year and 2 months.
Nice.
Almost getting close to 3 months.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
Noah, how long have you been married now? A long time.
More than 2 years. July 9th of a year.
Yeah.
I don't know what year, but I did it. I'm married.
I was there.
How has it been? I know you're my best bud. Kind of. Honorary.
Yeah. Noah needed like several. Best bud. Because as he said, he's late. No,
hey, it was a good time. It was a good wedding. Good wedding.
But yeah,
how's it been?
It's like how do we update? So yeah, I got married. And it's been good.
I hope so.
Lived on the college campus. So we followed Noah's footsteps and lived in the married dorms.
You guys had a better spot than we.
Oh. I don't know. It just worked out that way.
It was hilarious. Well, the biggest part was that we never like stood up for ourselves. So like that's a big thing. Like ask and you'll receive. So it's like if you never ask for something, how is somebody going to do it unless they're thinking of, which is, let's be honest, a lot of people are thinking about themselves because we kind of got to take care of ourselves in some regards. So it's like it's not that weird to think, but yeah, whenever there was a spot available, we were never like, hey, remember we were supposed to like be able to like have a spot open up for us, right? And it was just like every time someone else would move in and they would get the better spot because we were in like a studio apartment.
A little studio.
Yeah. Yep. Compared to the other place which had like
one big room, a bathroom, and then 2 little rooms.
2 little rooms?
Yeah.
What?
And you just had what would have been the big room.
I had just one big room.
Yeah.
It was fine. We lived.
You made it work.
We survived.
Yep.
But yeah, so Dylan got married and you guys moved in there.
We were
neighbors, but we didn't really...
didn't do bread ends.
We didn't do bread ends. We could have. Whatever. We were busy. Look, a lot happens when you become newlyweds. Like, that was the thing I kind of talked to Dylan a little bit about, and I think I mentioned here, at least mentioned on other stuff I'm on. But like, one of the biggest things was I care a lot about working out and about my health. And even though there's a gym right there, it's not really a great gym, but I used to use it a lot. But once I got married, that was one of those things, just priority of time, I just didn't do because. A big part of being married is you're in this transition period of mixing together's priorities and figuring out how to make things work, and you're still trying to dive into each other. And so, priorities change and things are happening, and so it's definitely understandable.
Yeah.
Like, at least that's how it was for me.
Oh, it's a transition period.
Yeah.
And then where I had graduated, but Allison was still in school, was a transition period because it wasn't like we could both go to work. We could have, but she was focused. She was full time at school at that point. It was just real hard.
Yeah. It's a lot of work.
And yeah. And so we've moved to our second home, I guess. Moved into another apartment. Moved from the college dorm
my second home.
into an apartment.
I would consider your second home.
Recently.
That's what I consider it with our,
we've been
our
there
living up
since...
This is our second place we've been to. When you said second home, I thought it's like, are you living somewhere else too? Like,
we own two. We have a beach house. We have a summer home.
Are you living
and
with
we have
your family a lot of times? Is like something like that happening so frequent that's like it's like our second home. It's not our first home. All right.
Yeah. We've been there since August 11th.
Okay. August 11th.
Yeah.
So not a full year. Wait, a year?
It's this year.
I'm crazy.
Yeah.
I'm silly.
This is like our second month. Yeah.
Okay.
What up? And we're in the big boy world of utilities and
Got to make sure everything works.
paying for your own Wi-Fi and maintenance requests.
Yeah,
and
making sure. That is the worst part of like living in an apartment compared to owning a home. Well, it's the pros and cons. It's like, okay, you got to ask somebody to come fix it.
Yep.
It's like, will they come fix it? When will it happen? Compared to when you own a place, it's like, well, you're the one fixing it.
You're on. You can
But
hire a
but
handyman.
that's the problem.
but it's you.
on you. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. So like with this, we technically don't own it, so we're technically still renting. So what we would do is technically still, I don't know. It's weird. Like we own the building technically. Like we don't, but my folks do, and so we're renting it from them. And so, just because of the housing crisis, weird cost of everything. That was the best way to do it. So it was a great blessing, obviously. But like when thinking about if we wanted to get something done, what do we have to do? It's like, all right, well, if we're doing the house, technically we go through our folks. If we're doing like the yard, because the yard is what we still rent out to someone else. And so that part is like, I guess the land we would, I don't know, it's confusing, but some person out there is like, what are you talking about? That's normal. They're like, it's not that confusing.
We're new.
You child.
We're still children.
We are children. I'm fine with that. I'll be a children. I'm 24. That's weird. That's weird. I still realize that's young, but it's still weird.
Yeah.
24.
But God's been blessing. That's
good.
That's the big updates that I'm still transitioning and being a newlywed, and then still transitioning and moving to a new place.
Now that you're out of college,
that's also transition
with your degree. What are you doing for work nowadays? Wait. First off, what was your degree again that you did get?
Yeah,
all that work.
I barely.
Barely.
So
hey, who cares?
The story behind that is,
was it like financial barely?
I didn't know.
Okay.
I didn't do my internship.
Oh, right.
Because of COVID and all that stuff,
right.
And so I got to walk across the stage and grab my diploma.
Sure, but you still had to go do it.
But on the inside, there was a sticky note that said, like, hey, you'll get your paperwork when you finish your classes.
Yeah.
And so that summer, I went on an internship. And did that.
Doing this kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good with Good News Productions International. They, obviously from Bread Ends and different stuff I've done, media committee at the college, like, I have passion for Christ-centered media. And so I went and developed some and helped out at a mission group that they don't do a lot of media production in the US, but they sponsor groups all over the world that make media for that culture.
That's very cool. It's cool to have something like that.
Yeah.
To kind of
the place where I was is like a lot of commercials, a lot of funding, a lot of like Facebook posts. So that's what I was doing. But all over the world they do like kids cartoons and podcasts and movies and
they're all sponsored through that.
Yeah.
That's very cool. I like that. So yeah, you did that,
So-
and then after that,
my degree, I got a bachelor's degree in Christian ministry in intercultural studies.
very
So missions work.
mm-hmm.
And so then I flew to the Congo and no, part of being married
Sure.
and paying for rent
Yep.
and being responsible for your family,
Mm-hmm. As a husband.
as a husband or just even as half the people in the family,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta have money.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
true.
my internship paid me, it was a total surprise and blessing from God.
Mm-hmm.
But they gave me so much per week, and I had saved some. And then when I left them, when I finished, they gave me a good-sized check. And so we lived off of that for a while. I was trying to find a job. And just like we're in a housing crisis, I don't know if I'd call it a job crisis, but I just could not find a job.
Really?
And like I've DoorDashed before and I was doing something
Sure.
like that. And so nepotism, everyone's friend. Do you know what that means, Noah?
Hey man, I grew up on a farm. Dude,
Um,
everybody hates nepotism.
Oh, yeah. I feel guilty about this, like still, but I've worked hard. But my cousin worked at has a catering business that she works at, and she's like, "Oh, I can get you a job." And so I started doing caterings with her, and I've worked hard enough that I've made it my own, and I'm a team lead without her help through
Sure.
other managers. And that's where it's like, all right, I took her hand up, but I didn't be like, "Oh, I'm related to
Yeah.
one of the managers."
Side
blah, blah,
note,
blah.
this isn't supposed to be a whole like we don't. This is a type of topic we like to cover a lot, but like nepotism, I think what people like the positive is when it's a opportunity.
Yeah.
It gives opportunity, but where people hate nepotism is when you don't care about the opportunity. You don't care, but you still get to keep the job
Yeah.
and you still get the rewards, even though you're not putting in the work. That's where obviously people hate. Where it's like, oh, my dad owns the company, so I get the job and I get to do whatever I want, and I still have the job. Like, sure, that's where people hate nepotism. But other people will understand that, nepotism is, well, America is known for you
It's
get
how
this
the
job
world
based
goes.
on who you know.
Yep.
Like, that's how
Yep.
a lot of the world runs, is by who you know. And so,
So
makes sense, but okay, so you've been doing
working
that.
for a catering and event center.
So the next question, the follow-up question of that some might ask is this your tent making business? So is this
I
your,
like wording it that way.
yeah, is this your because for me to be vulnerable, that's kind of what whenever people ask me of what I'm doing, I always have to say, hey, I do DoorDash as part-time as I'm doing
Yeah.
YouTube, yada yada yada, because that's how it helps me fund. So in some regards, people would look at that as my tent making. So is that your tent making, or is that just, as I would probably word it, not your focus, right? With priorities changing, and as you mentioned, your wife is still in college, still learning.
Yeah. It started out as I just needed any job to pay rent,
Sure.
and I had applied for some jobs that were within my
Ministry
field of
Sure.
like degree and ministry
Mhm.
and stuff, and it just didn't work out. Which, I had applied at the college and stuff and different
Okay.
things, and in some ways, God blessing, it didn't all work out.
Mhm.
But yeah, I ended up working here, and it's funny questions that you ask about, is it your tent making job and stuff? Because at the same time I was transitioning jobs and now transitioning places, the church that we've been going to for a long while is just a little bit too far away for how much gas costs, and so we're transitioning a church now too. And so where we were volunteering and serving, like where we
Yeah.
could, now we're in a transition period with like, are we gonna go to this church, that church? Where can we plug in? So
Sure.
For a while, yeah, I was working full time and then I was volunteering with the church. I still volunteer with my dad's church and stuff.
Yeah.
But now it's like, all right, 100% transition. But yeah, Noah's leading into this. But I have some stories I was.
Yeah, we have
about.
some stories that you mentioned. So, but before diving.
No, you don't want to lead into that.
We'll segue into churches later.
Yeah,
that's one. But we're gonna stay on this tent making. But I want to make a mention about tent making. I think the biggest thing about this is, I think a lot of people ask this about, like, is this your tent making in a lot of ways, because there's an idea that, well, one for sure, like you got a degree in a Bible focus doing ministry, so it's easy to think like, why aren't you in a ministry? But like, the one problem, even if without doing that, if you're like a Christian who's like, no, I'm a devout Christian, I believe in this, I believe in sharing God's word, and a lot of people might ask like, oh, are you in a ministry? If you're not doing the ministry, is this job your tent making? It kind of degrades the tent making job as being a ministry, because that's the reality is we need Christians to still be open with the word and build relationships with their co-workers, even if they're working out at Walmart. Like, that's still a opportunity that God wants to work in, and you getting to spend time with those other people and build a relationship is, God will use that. And so it is kind of like interesting where it's like, it's understandable why you would say, oh, is this your tent making to just make a living so that you could possibly do this other thing, but does possibly degrade the possibility of that thing
because
used.
Even when Paul was doing his tent making, he was ministering to Priscilla and Aquila.
Sure. Yeah.
He was right there, you know.
Yeah.
And to whoever would listen to
we
the
don't
guy.
know, yeah, I was gonna say, and we don't know who, because it's not mentioned, like, who he sold to. He could have easily been talking their ear off about God, because we see the same thing when he's in prison. That's what he did then. So it's not that odd to think he'd do it there too, but it's just not something focused on.
And I wouldn't say I've had critics. I think critics might be too tough of a word.
Sure.
But I do have some. Boise's a big city, but it's a small valley.
Yeah. Sure.
And once
Feels
you know
like it's getting bigger and bigger with how many people.
But when you know, like, the Christian community in Boise, like, you only know so many people. And so recently I've had some events where, thank you, Noah, he poured me tea.
He poured me alcohol.
Where I've had people that I know and really like coming and doing events at the place. And I don't think they mean to be condescending, but my literal job title is servant. And I'll be like bringing around the bread for the meal, and they'll be like, oh, Dylan, I didn't know you worked here. Like, did you graduate? What are you doing, with ministry and stuff like that? And the one that was hardest for me was a guy who, and I love this guy. He had donated, like, he was a part of some scholarship boards and had donated, like, money personally to my studies. And then he met me at this secular job. And we didn't have a lot of time to converse. I didn't have a lot of time to tell him, like, hey, this is what's going on. This is, like, the ministry I'm doing here. And he's like, oh, like, what are you doing with your studies? I'm like, if I had more time to tell you, blah, blah, blah. But to him, he was, like, very, not confused, but, like, almost like, oh, we donated a lot of money to you.
Oh, yeah.
You're working at Wahoo's.
Yeah.
Oop. But also at work, that's part of the outside the Christian bubble, is for the first time I'm not working at the Boise Bible College library or like as a resident advisor or assistant or whatever, or Good News Productions helping me. And so the type of music that's listened to in secular jobs, the way people speak and maybe even say some bad words is been different. The topics people talk about are different. I've had people confide in me on like some pretty worldly things and like ask for advice, and I'm like, oh, I'm not prepared for that. I'm not practiced in what to do. They're like, you relate to this, right? Like, what would you do? I'm like, I don't.
Yeah.
I've never had this problem. Like, and bless their hearts, they're great people, but they're like, I'm having this problem with my boyfriend or girlfriend and stuff, and like we're living together and this and that and this and that. I'm like, they're like, you know, like you're married, like how'd you do that? I'm like, well, I didn't.
The circumstances
I don't know how
very
to
different. We're living together
and they just
we're married.
Don't understand, you know?
Yeah, it's.
And so that's the cultural difference.
Yeah.
And then most of the church groups that come by do a very good job. But all of my, and maybe this on the podcast, we can just grow from this, like as a Christian community.
Sure.
But if we go into the board and my coworkers see so-and-so church is coming in or so-and-so ministry is coming in, there is a sigh. And I've heard my coworkers be like, oh, we hate it when church groups come in. And part of it is just they hold church groups to a higher standard because they've heard like, oh, Christian should be like this, Christian should be that, Christian should be that. And then they see like Christians are the people that, you know, and most of it's a youth group, and you can't manage like all the youth group kids to like follow the rules.
It's a bunch of kids.
They don't follow the rules. They don't do this. The kids were rude to me. The leader really wanted this. And so I've been working really hard on like, oh, I'm a Christian, you know, and I know that this group hurt you, but how can we do this for ministry? And how can we be like, in their perspective, like if we put, yes, this group hurt you with the way they talked to you or did whatever, and you're holding them to a higher standard because they're supposed to be following the Bible and stuff. But put yourself in their shoes, you would be mad too. And different ministry that way, and showing like not all Christians are like that.
Yeah.
Has been a big ministry.
Christians are also human. You know, sometimes they do something not supposed to. Like, you know, yeah, they should have acted that way. You're right, but like this is what's happening and what's going on, and sure, it probably shouldn't have happened, but it happened.
That's doing ministry where I'm at, and even if they don't even know I'm doing ministry, like sometimes I'm like, well, the Bible says this, and more being like, well, have you ever thought about doing it this way? And then later being like, oh, where'd you get that advice? Well, I got that advice from my faith, my beliefs, and it says here in the Bible. Yeah, but starting out with just like, you know.
Yeah, I think we both agree that that's the better way of, as we learned, building a relationship. That's key. That's so key to opening up, and I think even just looking at it out of respect, you know, it's like really, should you shove your values to somebody you don't know? You know, like that alone is something big, especially here in America. Like people care about their rights and who they are and whatnot. And so, like before shoveling that down on somebody, getting to know them and building a relationship, you know, matters a lot. So that's cool. I guess my next question is, and it's okay if there's none right now. As you mentioned, you're in this kind of transition stage, and a lot of it is just, all right, got to get a job to figure this out too, to provide and figure it out. And so, you know, being busy, focused, and whatnot. But is there any plans for kind of ministry or any thoughts about that in the future, even if it's just like wants, or what?
That's the goal still. My wife is studying to do counseling, Christian counseling.
Awesome. Love it.
So
let's go.
When she graduates, she wants to go on and get her master's and like
into counseling.
Just do more school and then be like licensed counselor.
Yeah,
that's
that makes sense. That sounds like a good route for sure.
And so the goal is that we could like 1-2 punch ministry.
Yeah.
You know, even if we're not working for like the same ministry, but we could both be in the ministry field like vocationally. But that's a future right now. After we get our feet under us and stuff. And on the side, and like not on the side, because I'm doing ministry work too. We're probably gonna. I think we found a church that we like. This is the one we're staying at.
Yeah.
After visiting a couple Sundays.
Can't get you to come to my church.
Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, I go to it. So, you're discrediting my values.
But
You're not part of my clan?
What? Church rivalry. But we have like 2. Allison wants to join a women's group that's on Sundays, and we have another young married small group we're gonna end up going to, and then hopefully volunteering on top of that. And
yeah. We can talk about churches. Moving into church transition. But that's cool. I'm glad that you guys are finding areas in the church that you plug in and whatnot. Because
that's like the next step to like.
That's your priority
goals
right now. Yeah, okay, a step. That makes sense. That's like, right now, that's actually what Beth and I, my wife, we've been doing too in our churches. We were looking for a church when we transitioned. We were looking for a church that we can start digging into. And specifically, Bethany needs something to be filled in because she was doing her work at Teen Challenge where she's constantly pouring out and she just didn't have anything to fill in. And so we were looking for a church that really focused on small groups. We went to One Life, which is right nearby us. We just looked it up. It was really close. We went there, and it took a while because they do a lot of their like small groups in the fall. But they were a church that like focused a lot on small groups, and like that's a big part. Even though they're kind of smaller, that's just a focus they do. And so it's like, oh, cool. This is exactly what we wanted. And so just recently, because they started small groups right like the week we were leaving on vacation, and so we signed up for a bunch of them, and then our pastor was texting us like, hey, are you showing up to this? Are you planning on coming here? And we're like, yeah, we just left on vacation, we'll come back, don't worry. And so being back though, I've been able to attend some stuff. So like the only 2 that I'm a part of, because we're still trying to figure out time wise what we take it to, but like one of them was like it's like a dating with your, it's date night with your partner. And so it's like
you're married
people, mostly married people. I don't think people who are just dating would go. It's very much a opportunity for married people to make a time to come together and have a date night. But sadly, my wife works during that, so we couldn't make it that. So we'll make our own date night. It's fine, whatever. But the 2 I'm a part of is one is, it's actually today in the afternoon. It's a sexual morality, like kind of like a, not like a full accountability. Like I've only done 1 week of it. It's very lax because it's their first time doing it for the church. So they don't want to do like too committal. So they're like very relaxed. It's mostly just watching a video of a series and going through it and then talking. So it's not that hard, but it's just like a start to like kind of open up the door and build accountability and relationship with people. So that one, and then I have one in the morning, like so early. It's like which like I normally get up early to do my reading, but it's just a little bit extra to like get up, get ready for other people to see me, and then get coffee and then go. But it's a Bible study, and so that's cool, which we could talk a little bit more about that. A funny thing happened. And like I don't hold it because like different leaders in the church has gotten back to me, be like, hey, sorry that this happened, yada yada, and they've done their best to correct me, especially since I'm a young married couples are high on the market for churches. Churches love
gotta keep him.
Churches love young couples. They love them.
It grows the church.
It does. It's important because like growing up in an old church, that was a concern. It's like, this is not good. This church is going to literally die because all the members are old people, and they're literally going to die. You need to recruit younger people. You need to get them in. It's part of keeping a church alive. But we're going through Noah, the book of Genesis. We're in Noah, and the first week was going through first his genealogy to open up to Noah of like, hey, here's Noah, and then going through and talked about how the state of the world and how there's the Nephilim and how the world's all corrupt. I mentioned how the Nephilim are looked at as heroes, like Hercules, which is hilarious. and then going through it, and then talking a little bit about God telling Noah to start building a boat. And we were talking about it, and there was a lot of mentions of the Book of Enoch, and a lot of like citations of like, and at this time it was this. Like one thing they mentioned twice now, even like a week later after this like encounter, and it was a different guy who said it. So I think because the guy that mentions this thing that I'm gonna bring up, I don't even think goes to this church. Like he goes to a different church, but probably knows somebody, and so they come along for Smudder, which is fine. It's actually really cool if you think about it, to have like different churches come together with this small group, because it connects the church, which is what we should be doing more as Christians. But both of these guys mentioned like one fact that I still find weird is that they mentioned that it never rained before the flood. The Bible never mentions that. It never makes a point to mention that. So whether it's true or not, it's at least not like a focus point. It's not like something that matters. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, even if we argue about it, who cares? Let it go. It doesn't matter. Because it's not a major. Major in the majors, don't major in the minors is the common word. But the thing was, they mentioned it twice, and it just, I don't know. And I asked them about it. I'm like, oh, where does it say in the Bible? And they're like, oh, it doesn't. But we all know it. People know that. And I'm like, I don't know what source they're taking that from. So, but like, because they brought it up several times, and I was just like, well, whether it's true or not, the Bible doesn't mention it, so at least it's not the focus.
Yeah.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. But later on, this one person, we were going into it, and he was talking about how the Nephilim and how all this bad stuff was going on, and then he started mentioning stuff, and I was like, well, where is that coming from? The Bible doesn't say that right here. So where is that coming from? And he mentioned, well, in the Book of Enoch. And that was a red flag for me as somebody studying the Word of God and using other sources. You learn of some books that are not canonized. They are not considered in the Bible, so you don't see them in the Bible because they're not considered true. So like an example is the Gospel of James. The Gospel of James is a book of the Bible that's supposed to be taking account of Jesus' life when he's growing up as a child and some of the miracles he's doing, and it's not considered true, and so it's not in the Bible. And so the Book of Enoch is one of these books, and I don't know much of the Book of Enoch. I honestly should read the Book of Enoch because my biological father reads the Book of Enoch and talks a lot. So it wasn't like I haven't interacted with this situation before. Like this was a very similar where I was like, oh, this is what I got to deal with. Somebody who believes these things and believes it to the point where they consider it true. When as Christians, the most important thing is understanding that the Bible, no matter what source you look at, even like commentaries, the Bible is the only one that is God breathed. Like there's a point of that where it's like we have to consider this the Bible for a reason, why this is the Bible and this is not. And so there's some of that. Let me fix that, but you can talk a little bit. 1 second. Let me fix it.
Yeah, extra canonical books.
What's your thoughts on it?
I think it's coming.
It's that's like a harder fix. I can fix that. I can fix it. I don't even remember what. For one of our classes, Origin, Nature of the Bible, we read an extra canonical book and do a report on it. And I think... Ooh, that's a... Bright light.
Brighter light.
It's the sun. Did I fix it?
Yeah.
There's a door there.
Yeah.
Side note about this door. Because the world moves and it changes its axis as it's moving around the sun. Different times of the year, I will have sun problems. So in the fall time, I've learned, because we've almost been in this house for a year now, almost, because we moved in close to Christmas time.
Okay.
And then it's about October now. And so it's only been a full year, and I've noticed that in fall time, the sun will blaze through that light in the afternoon. Once it gets in the afternoon, and it gets bad around like 5 or so, it it just blares right in that corner, which is where my setup is. It's just it's terrible. So I've had to do a light problem. Side note over. Book of Enoch and other books that are...
Yeah.
Tell me about it, because I want to hear more of your thoughts.
I think I did a report on Second Maccabees for that class.
Okay.
And basically, like...
The Second Maccabees, the Maccabees are mentioned a lot, right? Like, because they're similar to...
That book is historical.
Yeah, because, like, the only thing
but it's not... God.
No, it's not Christian.
Yeah, it's historical.
Yeah, because okay, so when people talk about, like, in this situation, well, the guy said, well, you got to look at other sources outside the Bible. Like, that's what he mentioned a lot. And to his credit, I don't think he's exactly wrong. Like, I have a bunch of books that I'm looking on my desk over here I use that are not the Bible, that are like, you use it to study the Bible. And so that's a different source.
Yeah.
Commentaries are a different source. And so, and even in the Maccabees, that's the only one where reading through the Bible was called Kings, and I think also Chronicles. It's either of those two.
Yeah.
They literally mention, hey, go check this out if you want more information. That's literally what they talk about when they talk about, oh, and this king did this, as is accounted in this source. And so that's the only time where I see in the Bible where they literally point to a different source outside of the Bible to be like, hey, as told in here.
Because at the end of the Old Testament, it's like, this was the end of the prophets. So he's not saying like this is the end of the story, but he's like, this is when I'm done talking to you guys. I've tried through all of these major prophets, all these minor prophets. I'm done. And then there's the First and Second Maccabees, which are kind of like First and Second Kings. They tell like the same story.
Yeah, it's very similar. Okay.
And it's historical. And then you have more time, and then you have Matthew, and the accounts of Jesus. And so that's the one I did my book report on, but I want to say someone else did the Book of Enoch, and whether it is like a historical book or someone wrote some fiction, or like when it was Origination of the Bible was an interesting class because we went back and we looked at, these are the oldest manuscripts of the Bible we have. This includes this includes this. And for some reason, our church fathers decided these are the books we're keeping. These other books might be good. I might like it for my, historical record or whatever. But at the time of Roman persecution, when they were supposed to be like giving up their Bible books, like they were like holding them at sword point, like, give me your Bible. There was books that they cared a lot about and were like, I'm not giving that up. And there was books that like, I'm not going to give you Matthew, but you can have the Book of Enoch. I'll turn over this book to the Roman government.
Sure.
And that's part of like the canon process was literal like persecution, like the Holy Spirit or whatever, like being like, okay, I don't see as much use in this book, and like the story of the Bible and what's inspired by it and what's not.
Wasn't also part of the process was also like what people were using, like what the different churches around were using. Like, no, we all used this book, so it's like, okay, that's important.
It's like, and then like
everybody's using Matthew.
They had connections to the apostles,
the writers, the
apostles,
the writers. Yeah, the apostles, they could literally check with.
They're
them
literally like either that, or they're like, well, my teacher was so and so, whose teacher was so and so, whose teacher was Paul. Like they had that genealogy down, and it's like, and Paul writes this, and this doesn't agree with, apostolic, whatever.
And that was the important thing about the Gospels was like it had to be somebody who was with Jesus and like saw it and was there for it. So that was part of the process of like, well, to chopping off what was right and what wasn't.
And that's all New Testament stuff.
Yeah.
But Enoch's an extra canonical book in the Old Testament, which is, for me, I'm confident in all of it. But the canon in the Old Testament, read Matthew. You see how strict the Jewish leaders were.
Yeah.
And the rabbis and stuff. And some would say even more strict than the early church fathers. And to a fault.
I mean, yeah.
And so
the Pharisees were known for
when they say like, this is our Torah, this is our, you know, our prophets and stuff. Yeah. For them to be like, and this is the Pentateuch, so especially the Pentateuch that like, you know, people believe Moses wrote it. Like, so much history that when we start messing with that, I see.
Sure. Well, we should probably
not that.
We don't need to, but we might at some point do a podcast on like, the Book of Enoch, because like I think the important thing is not so that we have more tools to fight with, to argue. Like, no, not for that, but
we just want to fight our fellow Christians. That's our goal.
Because I got to be right. I'm American. I need to be right. It's not because of that. It's because if you're dealing with these kind of sources and you're getting thrown at them, it's good to be aware and understand what's going on. And so, like, just even to build a relationship, to communicate in contact, to even know whether you agree or don't agree with somebody, like that alone, like I would do the same thing if someone was coming at me with a secular belief of, oh, I believe in this kind of this secular religion or whatever. That alone of like, oh, I should probably know that, so I know why they might be going to that, where they're coming from, you know, just building a relationship. And so it's like, I since now I've been dealt with two separate people, I've dealt with two different kind of situations of like the Book of Enoch being thrown at me, and I still haven't read it or know much about it. Yeah. But that's not where it's like, all right, I should probably look at this and have a little bit more of an understanding, you know. But yeah, that was some of my thoughts. And then afterwards, because it didn't get like heated. It didn't get heated, but because I was asking questions back, like, well, what do you mean by that? Like, he'll say stuff like, oh, you know, there was the 12 stars and they meant this, and different stuff like, well, you know, Adam probably could have gotten to know about the knowledge of good and evil. They just weren't ready for it yet, and so God would have gave it to them later. And it's like, the Bible never makes mention of that. I don't know about that.
We're playing outside.
Yeah, so it was just one of those things where it's like, since we were asking a bunch of that, and it got to the point where, you know, he did say some things like, well, you just need to know how to read your Bible, and like was saying that to me. And it was one of those things where it's like, you're right, I guess I don't know how to read my Bible. And like, they don't know that I went to Bible school. Like, they don't know that much about me.
You don't announce it?
No,
to every church you walk in, you don't
slap down. I go to Bible school. I didn't get a degree, but I went.
You don't on your communication card write
in my bio.
And I went to Bible college, and I should be preaching the sermon.
So the fun thing was, the church does have like once a month. They have like a little like. It used to be a lunch, now it's like a dinner, like get together, kind of like, hey, new people come here, we'll take care of your kids, and we want to get to know you type of situation. We can share more about what the church values are. And I was like, oh, cool, let's do that, because I care about that. And it was cool getting to like talk with the pastor, because him and his wife, they dual preach. So every once in a while, his wife will preach. And they both did, they were in Bible school in Oregon. I don't know where, but it was like a northwestern. I think it might be Washington. I don't remember. Yeah. But they did Bible school there, and I was like, oh, cool. And so we got to talk a little bit more about that understanding. And so, but like of the church, I think he's like one of the few ones. So like, yeah, no, I don't go around because I even had to talk with him about my situation of like, hey, I didn't finish my plans. Do I want to go back? So like that whole thing to talk about it. But he was very understanding. But so after that whole situation with the Bible study with the Book of Enoch guy, you know, there was a whole thing of like people were texting and be like, hey, sorry that this happened. We talked to him, you know, he's planned. And then the next Sunday he actually came to the church and he was like, he apologized. And I was like, hey, it's understandable. You know, we're coming out of spots of caring. Like we feel passionate about these things. So it's not like you're hate-filled against me and whatnot. And so we're just talking. But yeah, he was like, yeah, I don't normally go here. I go to a different church. I was like, okay. That was weird. I just didn't know. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's what I still don't know the full story about why some people from different church come. So maybe I'll have to update it later on because that I like it. It's cool, but it's just wasn't explained, so I don't know. But that's some of the spots we've been with our new church. Is we're trying to dig in more. We're trying to find time to do it, and we've been barely starting to do it, but it's been good. So that we can slowly get to know people more in the church and build relationships, serve eventually. I'm waiting for the moment where I'm starting to serve in the church. I'm just waiting until the area, because while I do a lot already, I don't know, I just like putting more on my plate for some reason. I'm a masochist. Yes. What are you thinking, Dylan? Speak to me as I look for my notebook to see if I've covered everything I want.
Covered anything?
I found it.
Found it?
Yeah.
Found it.
Oh, I have one thing.
You're talking about the church covers your child care for those meetings.
Yeah.
So you have children?
I don't have children.
I don't either.
I don't have children. I have something similar
I have
to children.
no dependents.
You have a wife. That's technically
Not on taxes. That's not a dependent.
It's true. They're like, oh, you're married? That means you're bringing up a lot of money, right? Because that's two people bringing money. It's like, well,
Sometimes.
I mean, yeah, kinda. We try.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
The American dream.
We still don't have kids. Cross our fingers. It's only because of God. It's one of those situations where it's like, hey, if God wants it, it's gonna happen. But let me see. I don't know where we're at, because our original plan was, after we got married, was we said 5 years. We said 5 years because I said 5 years at least. Like, I wanted a 5 years, and then we'll reassess where we're at. And my biggest thing was, like, because I'm doing YouTube and a bunch of other things, they're like startup businesses. So it's like, I want them to be bringing in some profits before we have another mouth to feed.
Yep.
So that was the biggest thing. And so, like, we would like a child, but it's just the biggest thing is I want to be having more money coming in first, and I want to have more time to where I don't have to be so focused on the businesses I'm setting up and doing that. I want to be able to be there for the child, obviously. And so our plan, I think we're about 3 years now. We're 3 years out. But we'll see. We have...
Always reevaluate.
We got a dog, though. We just recently got a dog. So, like, after getting back from our vacation, which was about 3 weeks ago or so, we got a dog. It's a lab husky that we named Manna. After, what is it? It's bread. So, my wife's a little upset about it, because we're throwing names because we weren't sure. We were thinking of different ones. We're like, maybe Mochi, maybe this. And then, right when we got back from vacation, she had to go work, which kind of sucked, but it was just one of those situations where it's like, either she worked or... No. Yeah, it was either she got home and worked, or she got home, had to rest, and then do a night shift. So it was just like, they were trying to work with her to try to figure out which one she would prefer out of the rough situation. And so she picked that one. And so while she was gone, right before she left to work, we went and got the dog and came back, and then she left. So I had time with the dog. And so I named it Manna. I made an executive decision, and she was a little bit upset. She does like the name, but she was just like, what the heck? She was like, you better not do that with our child. I was like, I'll try not to. we have some baby names picked out. Do you guys have baby names picked out?
We have I almost said Google. It's an Apple Notes shared document thing. We write down. Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. I love that. That's actually really cool. So,
because you know I'll forget.
Oh yeah. No, I don't believe you. So the only one I have is like, because I was like, okay, if we have a boy, I want to name. So I was like, all right, that's my ask. And so mine is Hezekiah.
All right.
I want a Bible name, and I like King Hezekiah. He's one of those situations, from what little I remember when I read it, it was going after kings. This king was really bad, and then the King Hezekiah switch. He's like, no, I'm not gonna be bad. I'm not gonna be like my father. I'm gonna be good. So it's one of those situations where I was like, cool. That's a good example of a character in the Bible that we hear about that does a good thing that doesn't get as much recognition. It's not like a popular Bible name.
Everyone names their child Hezekiah.
Yeah, no, they don't. They don't, especially not a white child. So, yeah, that's gonna be the interesting part, which I feel bad about. But she likes it. I'll call him Hezzy. I was like, yeah, sure, I guess I'll call him his name, but whatever. She tried to do the same thing with like dog names. There's something about like names and like wanting you to do like a nickname. So every time we're like, I forgot the other name we're trying to do, but she was just every name I would ask and say, she was like, oh, we could call it this, and it's like some kind of like shortened version. I'm like, yeah, or her name.
Yeah, I'm only gonna call your dog Manny from now on.
Yeah, it's just something like that where it's like it's not even shorter. It's like Manny. That's not her name.
It's longer, but
yeah. Ugh. So, I forgot what names. I think she wants if we have a girl like Anne or something like that. So like that's like the closest, but I don't remember all the things she was thinking of. We don't have a list. She's moving around. Because she's about to go to a meeting, so I could ask her. But you guys have a list.
We have a list.
Would you mind saying some of the things on the list? Do you remember any? Is there I guess the bigger thing is there any that you want? Is there any names that you're like more passionate about of wanting?
So the two that Allison's came up with them, but like I'm like, oh yeah, I like those ones a lot.
Yeah.
One is Avery.
Avery. Okay.
Paper products, sticker labels. I like it.
You don't have to do that to me. I don't know if that helps the situation, but sure.
No,
Avery's a good name.
I like that name. And the other one that I'm like, yes, is Caspian. Off of Prince Caspian of Narnia.
Hey, I don't hate it.
It's a Narnia king.
Mm-hmm.
Yours is a biblical king. Mine's a biblical allegory king.
It is. You're not wrong. I don't hate it. There's names I wanted to do, like, if I wanted to be a dumb JoJo fan, I'd try to get like JoJo. I would probably try to name my child. The problem is there's too many there's JoJo's out there that are like not anime-esque that ruin the name for me. So I just can't. But I guess another one like I would want is like Ash, because I'm edgy. But girl name. So like our plan still at this point in time is we want to have children. Like we want to conceive children if possible. We haven't checked if we can, but pretty confident we can. Thinking I was a dumb child growing up, so we'll see what happens. We'll see the results. But we want that, but we also want to adopt on top of that too. So that's the game plan. But obviously, 3 years out, at least that we know of, at least. And so it's like there's plenty of time for things to change. Because like, kind of going back to your what you're saying about the missions and wanting to do missions and whatnot. Like that was the plan, and possibly you and your wife doing stuff together. Like, originally Bethany, she was thinking when she got out of college, she wanted to go over the mission fields and wanted to help teens that were in like being sex trafficked and help. She had a massive passion for that, and so there's still a part of her that wants to do that, and so it's like maybe in the horizons, but like that was one of those things where it's like the goal was to go do that.
Yeah.
And just with priorities changing, this is where we're at. We didn't think we were going to be living literally this location. Like we didn't think that, but
yeah,
we're still doing what we can and looking at what we can do and what might change in the future and being okay with those changes. Kind of rolling with the punches and seeing what ultimately trying to like remind yourself that like, hey, whatever works, if God's behind it and if it's what he wants, then we're ultimately doing a good job. Kind of where we're at.
It's a good way to look at it.
We try. We try. It's hard sometimes.
As you can see by our list,
Oh my goodness.
my wife really wants a girl.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's
We're also like nowhere
understandable.
near.
Sure,
Like,
sure, I imagine not.
Yeah.
With what we were talking about,
Yeah.
like finances and what we've been up to, like,
but
and jobs.
yeah, she's got like 3 boys' names and at least 3 times the amount of girls' names.
That makes sense. I don't blame her. You know, as a guy, I want a little guy of me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fine if we get a girl. I really prefer not to, though. Mostly because even outside, it's just like, one is relatability. Like, I'm a guy, you're a girl.
I don't understand.
And like, 2, like, how do I help you if there's like a
Yeah.
makeup situation or stuff like that? But like, you know, it's fine.
You learn like everything else.
You will learn. Yeah, that is the thing. One thing I still hope, I don't know if I will do it, but if I have a child and we get some hair, if I give it a bowl cut, I'm still tempted. Just make my child look like a dork.
Builds character.
Build a character. You must like video games and be a dork. No sports. Dad, I just want to play soccer. No sports. Gotta get home and play some Fortnite. Yeah, we're far away from that, but it is interesting to be in this kind of field, this spot where it's like kind of looking towards that transition period of, you know, going from caring about just ourselves, focusing on taking care of ourselves, to now we're in the spot of being in a marriage and being apart with our partner, and then still already looking ahead almost a little bit of like that next chapter. It's interesting, but yeah, I assume, yeah, you guys, it's far along. It's not like a thought at all. Do you have a preference of boy or girl? Any kind of idea or thoughts on it?
Not right now.
That's understandable. That's fine. Yeah, like, I'm not, it's okay. It's okay if you say it.
Both would be cool, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it probably
Not at the same time. That'd be
You know what's
if God blesses.
Twins! Oh, my, they're the worst. Everything's twice.
We don't
as
have any
much.
twins in our family though, so it's not
Thanks.
genetic desperation.
Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah.
Of the curse that I have to bear. But that's good, man. I'm glad to hear that, you know, things are doing good. It's an interesting spot to be in, for sure. But I'm glad to hear that you're surviving.
Interesting segue and just talk about your dog
Yeah.
that we got. I'm glad we talked about it,
Yeah, good.
but I wasn't expecting to be reading baby names.
Nah, I'm glad to hear them, though. I'm glad to find out that you have a list. It makes sense. Why not? Why not just have a list? Going back to our topic a little bit more, though, with living in this bubble, or outside of this bubble now, is how's that been? Because you kind of mentioned like seeing some people you know while working, but how's it been outside of that? Have you found it, like, have you been able to connect with some people that you've known or new people? How's that been? Because it's, you know, it's, the reality is why people focus so much on like, hey, when you're in college, really build relationships, because, you know, those are people you're really going to talk to and still be with. But at the same time, because outside of that, it's hard to build relationships. It's hard to build friendships. And so, you know, that's why so many people hamper on that. And so, how's it been for you? Because I can go first and talk about my thoughts, if you would prefer. Because I have some stuff already prepared.
I think, yeah. I think I'm good to go.
Okay.
I was thinking about this on the way over and stuff. That it's a hard life, and I have a little bit more than you do because where Allison's in Bible college, like I still help. I have connection to the college, but and then also like I still help her with her homework and like, or she'll have something interesting and like we'll sit and just nerd out, together. And so we have that community going on for schoolwork and stuff, and she'll have like group projects and people come over and stuff that way. But I was talking with Mr. Harrod, Danny, a mentor of ours.
Yeah, we keep on mentioning how we need to meet up, and I've been meaning to actually since getting back to that actually meet up with him.
And Danny and I were talking. It was at the beginning of the summer about like how I was doing, like whatever, and how, you know, I was feeling discouraged because I'm like, am I using my degree? You know, stuff like that. And one thing that we were just talking about, like, how's life like when you're not on the college campus, not being forced to study God's word?
Yeah.
Forced in air quotes.
Sure.
But like for a grade, you know.
Yeah.
Like, what's it like? And him and I were talking that for a while, and I'm still in it. It has been like a season of like fasting and feasting, or like gorging, like all throughout the week. It's hard to like maintain spiritual discipline stuff, read Bible, whatever.
Yeah.
And then Sunday comes, and I want to be filled with that.
Yeah.
And so we spend forever on Sunday. We read the Bible, we study. I'm nerding out the sermon, and then Monday comes, and it's like fasting. And growing up, being a pastor's kid, like, it was always like, you don't want to be one of those people that only come on Sunday or only come on Christmas and Easter, and you want to not just read the Bible on Sunday. You don't want to be a Sunday Christian. You want to be a Christian all. But that, once you're outside of the Christian bubble, for me, that became so hard.
Yeah.
And then like,
it's a lot of intentionality.
I was working a lot of swing shifts at that time. So I was working at that time, it was like graduation parties. And so I was working, like, I'd literally go to work at 8 p.m. and get off at 8 a.m. And so it's like, you work from 8 to 8, and then you sleep, and then you work 8 to 8 for a while. And it's like, we keep saying, oh, we're so busy. I'm like, well, when can I read my Bible when I'm working? Is there times? Yes.
Sure.
You know, I get a 30-minute lunch break. Just stuff. There's no excuse. But as far as just like feeling, it's like, oh, I have no time. I have no time to talk to you, God. You know, like, it's like, when that's a priority, it's a priority.
Yeah.
But realistically, it becomes hard, and you neglect it, or at least I was. So him and I were talking about that, and he actually was like, I want you to stay at this job for now. Like, I think it's good that you're working these swing shifts and stuff, that if you do ministry, even if you just do like talking to people, that you understand, like, this is a swing shift. You're like, if you're working in a church or you're just working a small group, and someone's like, yeah, I work nights. You're like, oh, I did that for a season.
Yeah.
And he was like, I want you to work on your spiritual disciplines, that if you can find a way to
work it in,
that you can do that
then you can share that knowledge.
You can share that knowledge with other people.
Yeah.
Like, that you'll have a deeper knowledge of. Because realistically, even though like I'm a pastor's kid, like I went to Bible college, I want to do ministry like vocationally, that's only a percentage of the world. The mass majority are the people that are doing exactly what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
And if we don't understand that, we're going to be pushing so hard, and they're going to be like, I can't do that. You know, what do you mean?
No relatability.
That's what I have to do.
And you know, going
that's
through
what I'm
these
supposed
things,
to do.
easier to relate that to the person who's like, no, I have been in your shoes, and if we have figured out ways to do this, then we can share that. It's like, hey,
This is what worked for me.
I was able to do this, so I know you can, and I can help you with it, and we can figure it out, or yada yada. But no, that's
So I still feel the season of like fasting from the Word of God, and then because I'm a Christian, I want to be in that. I want to feel God's presence, gorging whenever I have the chance, like almost doing. Allison doesn't need a lot of help with her assignments, but every once in a while she'll ask me like for like one piece of advice, and I'll do like 3 hours of study just because I want that.
Sure. No, it's great.
You know.
Yeah. Whenever I've been asked about if I want to go back to college to finish my degree and whatnot, my answer is always like, I never felt like I never did it for the degree, and I don't feel called to go at the moment. But I would like to, because I like the digging in process like that. It's so good. But so yeah, no, that's very cool. For me right now in this season, and how it's been since outside of college, is I've been pretty blessed compared to most, because of of the circles I've built in while at college and the people I'm in is I still meet up with a lot of people from college. So like one of them is D&D. Like I've talked about this before, is while a lot of people are easily to dismiss or like Dungeons and Dragons, that's the evil pagan game, how could you play that? But honestly, without it, like I wouldn't have the Christian community that I would have still. So like literally once a week we get together, and everybody there except for one person is all people from literally the college I went to. So everybody's from there, and then there's a few people who aren't. But they're Christians too, and so we have this moment where sure we're playing a game where we're not trying to be Christian focused, but we still have a time to where before the game, even during the game, is to talk with each other. We talk about like, hey, how is it going in your youth group, how's this going, and time, those times are super beneficial to keep like a connection group together. And so, but besides like a D&D, because I'm at friends groups with those and like gaming stuff, it's been a little bit easier to be like, hey, let's jump on a game. And again, those are opportunities where sure our focus is on a game or something else where it's like we're not focusing on God, but it's like we have opportunity to like ask, hey, how you doing? Hey, how's this? Like, hey, oh man, this thing came up, and being able to share that and be a part of it has been helpful. But like outside of that, that's the thing where it's like building new relationships is still a struggle. Like I don't think there's been a new relationship that I've really built up. Like one of them is one of the friends of Josh Anderson, Liddell, and they were roommates of them, and so they were part of our friend group. We hanged out, and so that's like technically the only new person. Yeah. But besides that, nobody. Like that's what we're hoping to do with this new church. Is as we dive in, as we open up to be more vulnerable and spend time with others to start building more relationships, because we think it's good. Obviously, the more relationships you can, obviously, you want quality over quantity, and like I don't think this is that like you don't run into the problem of quantity over quality. The only time you usually run into that is like examples is like social media. That's the only times I've seen it where it's like, oh, there's actually like a quantity over quality of like, hey, I have this many followers, and it's like, well, are those really your friends? Like that's the only time I've seen it as an example. But outside of that, like I think in our day-to-day lives, if we can have more friendships, more connections, like God will use that. And so actually building it has been so hard. We haven't done it yet where we really built a new relationship. The closest is we're starting to with like our pastor at this church, but even that's so slow. But not the end of the world, it's a lifetime process, and that's fine. But just like looking back at the year and like where we've come, it's like I really haven't grown in like more connections, more relationships, and that type of way. Which is interesting. It does take a lot of work to do that.
Yeah, that's our goal with small groups right now. Can we get some more Christian friends? Can we get some more friends, period?
Yeah. That is one of the points of small groups at churches is for that.
Where Allison's still at the college, like we still have connections to people there and friends there. But when she graduates this next year and they graduate, and it's hard to connect with people you used to know too. Like that takes intentionality too to do that. Like even us doing this, it takes a lot of work. There's a reason why it took so long for us to get back to record again. Like that alone, the thing, and it's just reality. It takes a lot of work, but try and have grace with others, and it's not like it has to be done right now. It takes a lifetime, and that's okay. But any last things, Dylan? I would love to keep talking, but we have been talking for a long time. But we can keep talking. Is there anything else? Talking about those spiritual disciplines, just advice that like I said, I'm still not perfect. I don't know if I ever will be perfect.
No.
But growing in, things that have helped me is I'm Catholic now. Not really.
You said that to me,
but
I forgot about that. I'm glad you mentioned that. Before we recorded, Dylan's like, oh yeah, I'm Catholic now, so we'll have to talk about that. I was like, oh, All right, let's talk about it.
No. One of the things that's helped me with my spiritual disciplines is an app called Ascension.
Okay.
And it's a Catholic app. And that's the only way. That's the reason I make that joke.
Yeah.
But it's just a audiobook Bible.
Oh, cool.
But it's cut into sections itself. So it's not like the YouVersion Bible plan, you have to like click it or whatever or listen to it. But it's it has like days, and so much a day, just audio.
Yeah.
And then it has the catechism, which in Catholic Church is like a little sermon, like a little devotion. And so every day there's a new section of the Bible you go through, in the year, and a new devotion. And some of it like doesn't quite connect because there's a difference in beliefs or practices. But the main message of it and the Bible, all works out. So like it's been a pattern that like on my way to work I'll listen to the Bible and then the devotion on it, and that's helped a lot with spiritual disciplines, and like gives me something to think about at work and like what's going on. And then adding into that, we want to make this like a weekly
that's the point
thing.
Of this is,
and that's gonna
one for you
be
guys,
a devotional
for you guys. I hope this is
step.
something that you guys can use while at work or driving or something or wherever, sleeping. Either way, like this is something you can listen to, and it's beneficial to us. It allows us time to either focus on this, talk to each other, or even just dig into something.
Community.
Oh, 1 second.
Study time.
Camera stopped. As you were, sir. Never mind, man. Never mind. Drink your tea.
No. That's the goal, is that this would become added on to that spiritual disciplines, as well as small groups and stuff, but always striving to add that we can be better.
Yeah, my constant thing that I always like is like, you are what you eat. That's always the common thing I go back to. So the more things you spend time in a thing or eating or doing, it does impact your life. And so we're hoping like just small things that you can do in your life. So like the listening, that's, I definitely can see that being impactful, especially like audio stuff. It's so the biggest thing that I mentioned sometimes is like, it takes intentionality. That means it takes you doing stuff. It's such an active process. And so stuff like that where it's like, I don't have to read it, I get to listen to it. It allows it to be much more of a useful thing. So if you guys can find more stuff like that where it's like, it's a passive thing of like, it doesn't take that much energy to where it's easier to incorporate. Because like that's probably the thing also, if you looked into any kind of diet or even hear about diets, they always mention like, don't do this specific thing because it's good. Do a thing that will actually like you can keep doing. Something that like, you can make a habit out of. And so for me, that still has been like in the morning, waking up and reading my Bible. Like I've struggled a few times like recently, like since getting back from vacation, but like that's more also like a priority thing.
Yeah.
Is where I have to keep telling myself, no, this matters more. If I make the time for this, God will open up time for later. He will take care of that if I trust him with my time here. And so that's the thing I'm still having to remind myself. And like sometimes I have some late nights. So like this morning I woke up way later than I normally do. And so it's like, I haven't read my Bible today. So those are some harder times, but also trying to live in grace through that process. Because it's like, we got to remind ourselves it takes time to kind of make these a habit. And so it's like having grace for even ourselves through that. And praying. Pray about it. Say, hey God, please help me with this. Please, I need help with this habit. Please. But yeah. Good stuff though. I'm glad we were able to do this, man. It really was. This has been good. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I hope you guys enjoyed the visuals too. It takes more work.
Yeah.
So you better like it. But yeah, we're hoping to do this. Get back into doing this weekly. Right? I don't know what we're doing for topic wise. Again, I think we're doing the usual of whatever we think of throughout the
Yeah.
week and whatever we want to do, whatever we're dealing with. Or we might digging into like the Bible, start doing like, oh, let's look at this chunk of the Bible, because that's also fun. But
A lot of fun.
yeah. What we used to do around this time is we would do hey, shout out to this ministry. We haven't looked at a ministry. So whatever the ministries we've mentioned before, we've talked about, what's it called? The thing you were a part of.
Good News Productions.
Good News Productions.
International.
Boise Bible College. Other stuff. You want to mention the church you've been attending? You don't have.
Oh.
What church have you been
What
attending?
church did you're going to?
One Life.
One Life.
One Life Church.
And we've been trying out 10 Mile Christian.
Oh,
Just down the road.
You've been at 10 Mile.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, is that actually close to you guys?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Nice.
It's just down the road from us.
Dang it. I can't steal you.
It's a bigger church.
I can't poach you. Yeah, so the situation with One Life is very interesting. So what they're doing is they're renting out a building.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
they don't even own it. But they're still like, it's been in the process for years they've been doing that, and they're still like, they're pretty medium-esque church size, I would say. And they're still very much like, oh yeah, we would like to get a building. That's obviously in the future. Yeah. They're like, yep, we understand that we all don't like this, but this is just what we've been doing. It's what works, and so we still have plans for the future. So it's like, oh, okay, cool. But yeah, One Life Church is what I've been to. 10 Mile, I've heard stuff about. Heard things about that church. Heard things.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it. But yeah, thank you for joining us, viewers and listeners, and
welcome back.
Welcome back. I enjoyed this so much. I don't even know how long this one was, but that's fine.
Yeah, listen to it.
Yeah, listen to it. Well, we're going to be trying to do this more. If you guys have suggestions, always leave them down in the comments. If it's a YouTube video, if it's a normal podcast, can you leave comments on normal podcasts? I know you can leave a review.
We're so out of like practice with stuff like that.
Bye, guys.
Video. Bye.
Jesus loves you. I don't know. Any farewell? Any last words? Final words before I put you down?
Final. What?
Any last words?
Thank you.